In the vast expanse of China's Xinjiang province, a terrible tragedy unfolds. The Uighur people, a Muslim minority group, are facing unimaginable suffering. This is not just discrimination, it is a systematic campaign of oppression by the Chinese government. Evidence points to crimes against humanity and even genocide. The world is waking up to this nightmare. Reports from organizations like Amnesty International and the U.S. Director of National Intelligence paint a grim picture. They detail horrific abuses, including forced labor, mass detention, and suppression of Uighur culture and religion. Imagine being torn from your family and imprisoned for simply practicing your faith. This is the reality for countless Uyghurs. The Chinese government claims it is fighting terrorism and separatism, but its actions are far too broad and brutal to justify such claims. This is about crushing an entire people and erasing their identity. The world cannot stand idly by while this happens. Central to China's oppression are the so-called re-education camps. These are not schools, but prisons where Uyghurs are subjected to horrific conditions. Millions have been detained without trial, forced to renounce their faith, and subjected to political indoctrination. Imagine being forced to denounce your beliefs and pledge loyalty to a government that seeks to destroy your culture. This is the daily reality for Uyghurs trapped in these camps. The DNI report describes these camps as sites of cultural genocide. Uyghurs are forced to speak Mandarin Chinese, abandon their customs, and praise the Communist Party. Those who resist face torture, solitary confinement, and even death. The world must demand the closure of these camps, and the release of all those unjustly detained. Beyond the camps, Uyghurs face constant surveillance and repression. Their movements are tracked, their communications monitored, and their lives controlled. This is a systematic attempt to erase their identity and assimilate them into the dominant Han Chinese culture. The world must not allow this cultural genocide to continue. Behind the statistics are real people whose lives have been shattered. Ilham Tohti, a respected Uyghur scholar, advocated for peaceful dialogue between Uyghurs and Han Chinese. For his efforts, he was unjustly sentenced to life in prison on separatism charges. His daughter, Johor Ilham, bravely continues his fight for justice from abroad. Gulmira, another victim, recently appeared in a forced confession video released by Chinese state media. Her story, like countless others, exposes the brutality of the camps. Years of torture and imprisonment have taken a devastating toll, yet she is forced to parrot the government's propaganda. These are just two examples among millions. Every Uyghur has a story, a family, a life that has been irrevocably damaged by China's actions. It is time for the world to listen to their stories, amplify their voices, and demand justice. The international community's response to this crisis has been woefully inadequate. While some countries have condemned China's actions, concrete action remains elusive. The UN, hamstrung by China's political influence, has failed to take meaningful steps to protect the Uyghurs. This inaction is unacceptable. The world cannot remain silent in the face of such grave human rights abuses. We must pressure China to end its repression of Uyghurs and hold those responsible for these atrocities accountable. We must demand that China close the camps, release all detainees, and allow independent observers into Xinjiang. We must support Uyghur communities in exile and amplify their voices on the world stage. We must make it clear that the world is watching and that China's crimes will not be tolerated. Silence is complicity. The time to act is now.